God's chosen one. God reveals the exact time you're up next. It's happening. Could God actually schedule personal appointments with you? What if the struggles you've faced your entire life were actually preparation for what's about to happen in the next 40 days? What if heaven has been tracking your tears, all for this exact moment? Chosen one. This message was scheduled in heaven, long before you were born. This is not a coincidence. This is a divine appointment. The Almighty Himself has interrupted your day, your scrolling, your routine, to deliver an urgent message that will forever change the trajectory of your life. You see, God doesn't waste pain. Every rejection, every closed door, every night you cried yourself to sleep was actually positioning you for what's about to break forth. Psalm 56:8 tells us, "You keep track of all my sorrows. You have collected all my tears in your bottle. You have recorded each one in your book." Heaven has been watching you. When you thought no one saw your sacrifice, God saw. When you wondered if your prayers were hitting a brass ceiling, they were being collected. And now, the divine ledger shows it's your time. I need you to understand something profound. You didn't find this message. This message found you. You didn't just scroll here. Heaven scrolled you into it. If you feel a stirring in your spirit right now, a holy resonance deep within your soul, I want you to comment 888 below. In biblical numerology, 8 represents new beginnings and divine completion. Your simple act of typing those numbers is your first step of faith into what God is about to reveal. And if you sense in your spirit that this message is meant specifically for you, hit that like button as a spiritual declaration that you're ready to receive. There's something I must tell you. Something heaven has revealed about your exact timing. And when we get there, your spirit will bear witness with a certainty that can only come from above. The world looks at your life and sees delays. God looks at your life and sees divine timing. Isaiah 60:22 promises, "When the time is right, I, the Lord, will make it happen." Your when is now. Before we continue, I want to thank every single one of you who has supported this ministry through Super Thanks. Your generosity means more than you know. You're not just donating. You're helping spread divine light to others who feel alone in their calling. Whether you give or not, I'm deeply grateful for your presence here. Your support, your time, your attention, it all matters. And if this message resonates with your soul, your seed sown today will multiply in ways only heaven can orchestrate. Now, get ready. What I'm about to share will shatter everything you thought you knew about God's timing in your life. The divine interruption has begun. Have you ever felt like your entire life is a cosmic mistake, that God somehow put you in the wrong story? Have you wondered why everyone else seems to have a guidebook for life, while you're stumbling through darkness without directions? Why is it that when others pray, doors swing open? But when you pray, it feels like shouting into a void. Chosen one, I'm about to reveal something that will forever change how you see your struggles. There's a reason why life has never been normal for you. There's a divine explanation for why you've always felt like an outsider. Even in rooms full of people who claim to love you, you've been invisibly marked since birth. This marking isn't something you can see in a mirror, but everyone around you has sensed it. It's why some people are inexplicably drawn to you, while others pull away without explanation. It's why doors that should have opened remained locked, and why paths that seemed promising led nowhere. You see, when God places His finger on a life, that life no longer follows ordinary patterns. And make no mistake, His fingerprint is all over your story. Think about David for a moment. Before he ever faced Goliath, before he was king, he was just a forgotten son tending sheep in the fields. Even his own father didn't consider him worthy of being presented to the prophet Samuel. In 1 Samuel 16:11, when Samuel asked if all the sons were present, Jesse essentially said, "Well, there's the runt of the litter out with the sheep, but surely you don't mean him." But God had marked David long before anyone recognized his value. Or consider Joseph, whose own brothers couldn't stand to be around him. Genesis 37:4 tells us, "They hated him and could not speak a kind word to him." Why? Because the marking on Joseph's life created a distinction that made others uncomfortable. His dreams, his perspective, his very presence reminded them of their own spiritual mediocrity. This is your story too, isn't it? The strange disconnection you've felt, the sense that you don't quite fit, the nagging feeling that you're meant for something different but can't quite grasp what it is. These aren't signs that you're lost. They're confirmation that you've been found by God for a specific purpose. Moses spent 40 years in the wilderness before God activated his calling. 40 years. Can you imagine? He had been marked from birth, saved from Pharaoh's decree, raised in the palace, educated in Egypt's finest schools. Yet he spent 4 decades herding sheep in obscurity before his burning bush moment arrived. You've been a flame hidden inside a lantern in broad daylight. People walk right past you, never noticing the fire God has placed within you. But listen closely, chosen one, the night is coming, and your light will lead many through the darkness ahead. I know how deeply you've felt the pain of isolation, the nights you've cried out, God, why am I so different? Why can't I just fit in? Why does everyone else seem to have it easier? Those questions have carved canyons in your heart. But hear me clearly, that wasn't punishment, that was preparation. Jeremiah 1-5 declares, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. I appointed you as a prophet to the nations." God didn't mark you to hurt you. He marked you to use you at the exact right moment in history, and that moment is now unfolding. Every relationship that mysteriously dissolved, every opportunity that vanished without explanation, every door that remained stubbornly closed, these weren't failures. They were divine protection. God was keeping you from settling for less than your true assignment. Psalm 31-15 reminds us, "My times are in your hands. Your timeline has never been random." The delays weren't denial. They were divine positioning. God wasn't saying no. He was saying, "Not yet. I'm still preparing you, still positioning critical pieces for your moment." Remember Esther? She was orphaned, displaced, and then suddenly placed in the palace for such a time as this. Her entire life was orchestrated for one pivotal moment, when her voice would save a nation. Your struggles with belonging have been the chisel God has used to shape you for extraordinary purpose. While others were being formed for ordinary lives, you were being forged for exceptional impact. Can you feel it stirring within you now? That resonance in your spirit that confirms what I'm saying is true? That's not emotion, that's recognition. Your spirit recognizing the truth about who you really are. The confusion ends today. The questioning stops now. The mystery of why you've always felt set apart is being revealed in this divine moment. You didn't choose to be different. God chose you before you took your first breath. And everything in your life, the struggles, the rejection, the confusion, the waiting, has been precisely calibrated to prepare you for what heaven is about to activate. Look in the mirror tonight and understand, those eyes have seen more pain than most because they needed to develop spiritual depth to recognize divine moments others will miss. Those hands have felt emptiness because they're being prepared to hold weighty assignments others cannot carry. The marking on your life is about to become visible to everyone. The invisible oil of anointing that has rested on you since birth is about to flow publicly. The waiting season is over. Are you ready to discover exactly when and how your divine assignment will be activated? Because what comes next will explain everything about your past and illuminate everything about your future. Have you ever felt like God has forgotten your address? Like heaven's GPS somehow dropped the pin on everyone else's life, but yours? Have you ever cried out in the midnight hour, wondering why others receive their breakthrough while you're still standing in line? That waiting wasn't punishment, it was preparation. I want to speak directly to someone watching right now. You've been faithful, you've been praying, you've been believing, yet the silence from heaven has been deafening. I understand that pain, that confusion, that moment when you wonder if God still remembers your name. But today, everything changes. Habakkuk 2-3 declares, "For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it will speak, and it will not lie. Though it tarries, wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not tarry." Did you catch that? An appointed time. Not random, not accidental. Appointed, scheduled, marked on heaven's calendar with your name circled in divine red. Delay is not denial, it's divine design. Consider Joseph for a moment. This young man with a prophetic dream found himself thrown into a pit by his own brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused, and forgotten in prison for years. For 13 long years, Joseph could have questioned God's timing, 13 years of waiting, wondering, and watching his dreams collect dust. But what looked like abandonment was actually alignment. Every second Joseph spent in that prison was necessary preparation for his palace assignment. Had he been released one day earlier, he wouldn't have interpreted Pharaoh's dream. Had he met Pharaoh 1 week sooner, he wouldn't have been ready for the responsibility. God wasn't punishing Joseph. He was positioning him. If you've ever questioned your season of delay, drop Amen in the comments right now. That fire represents your faith still burning despite the wait. That flame declares, I may not understand it, but I still believe. You see, you're like a seed buried underground. To the naked eye, nothing's happening. It looks like death. It feels like darkness. But beneath the surface, heaven has been watering you in secret. Roots are growing deeper than they ever could have in the sunshine. And when you finally break through, you'll be unshakable. The oak trees that survive hurricanes aren't the ones that grew overnight. Your waiting room wasn't a holding pattern. It was a training ground. Think about David, anointed as king in his youth, but forced to hide in caves for years. While Saul occupied the throne that heaven had already assigned to David, God was building a king who would lead from experience, not entitlement. Remember this truth: your waiting wasn't wasted. Every tear you've cried, God has collected in his bottle. Every prayer that seemed to hit the ceiling has been preserved in heaven's archives. Every moment you felt forgotten was actually a moment you were being forged. Ask yourself, would Moses have been ready to lead Israel without 40 years in the wilderness? Would Esther have been prepared for the palace without her season of obscurity? Would Paul have written half the New Testament without his years in Arabian isolation? Your delay has divine purpose written all over it. I'm speaking to someone right now who's been on the verge of giving up. You've watched friends get married while your heart remains lonely. You've seen colleagues get promoted while your career seems stalled. You've witnessed others receive their healing while your body still struggles. And the whisper from the enemy has been relentless. Maybe God has forgotten you. Maybe your time will never come. That is a lie straight from the pit of hell. Isaiah 40:31 promises, "But those who wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint." Notice it doesn't say those who wait will just survive or endure. No, they will soar. They will run. They will walk without fainting. Your waiting isn't depleting you, it's developing you. In God's economy, nothing is wasted. Not a single moment, not a single tear, not a single day of waiting. And here's the revelation that's going to change everything. Heaven operates on perfect timing, not convenient timing. What if the very thing you've been waiting for wasn't delayed? What if it was precisely scheduled for this exact moment in your life? What if God hasn't been withholding from you, but waiting for all the pieces to perfectly align for your grandest breakthrough? Your season of waiting is about to make perfect sense, because when God finally moves, it won't just be good timing, it will be perfect timing. And that perfect moment, chosen one, is right now. The wait wasn't a mistake. It was a masterpiece in the making. Are you ready to discover what heaven has been preparing while you've been waiting? Have you ever watched others receive their blessing while you continued to wait? Have you ever questioned God, wondering if He's forgotten your address? Has your heart ever whispered in those midnight hours, "Lord, when will it be my turn?" I understand. That waiting room has felt like your permanent address. But listen carefully to what I'm about to tell you, because heaven has instructed me to reveal something that will forever change how you see your season of waiting. You are not early, you are not late, you are next. Let me say that again so it can sink deep into your spirit. You, chosen one, are next. In Ecclesiastes 3:1, Scripture tells us, "To everything there is a season, and a time for every purpose under heaven." But what most believers don't understand is that God doesn't operate on our earthly timetables. He moves according to what the ancient Greeks called kairos time, divine, perfect timing that transcends our human clocks and calendars. While chronological time, chronos, ticks steadily forward, kairos time waits for the perfect convergence of divine factors. It's the difference between waiting for seconds to pass and waiting for the exact right moment when everything aligns. And right now, heaven's kairos timing is aligning specifically for you. Think about David. For 15 long years after his anointing, he lived in caves, running for his life. Others walked ahead of him. Saul remained king. But only David carried the exact key for the door God was preparing. His waiting wasn't punishment, it was preparation. Your waiting isn't punishment either. It's sacred preparation. God hasn't forgotten you. He's been positioning you. When Joseph sat in that Egyptian prison, falsely accused and seemingly abandoned, he had no idea that in 24 hours, he would stand before Pharaoh and be elevated to the second highest position in the world's most powerful empire. 24 hours. God's clock doesn't tick, it strikes, and that divine strike is scheduled for your life, soon. The world has tried to convince you that you've missed your moment, that you're too old, too broken, too late. But I'm here to tell you that heaven operates outside the constraints of earthly timing. Sarah was 90 when she conceived Isaac. Moses was 80 when he led the Exodus. Anna was well into her 80s. When she beheld the Christ child, she had waited her entire life to see. Don't you dare believe the lie that you've missed your window. Your gray hair isn't a disqualification, it's a crown of wisdom. Your decades of faithful waiting haven't been wasted. They've been investments into your coming kairos moment. In Isaiah 60:22, God makes an extraordinary promise. When the time is right, I, the Lord, will make it happen quickly. Did you catch that? When the time is right, not if, when. And look at the second part. I will make it happen quickly. After decades of waiting, things can change in a heartbeat when God's kairos timing strikes. One divine appointment, one supernatural connection, one heaven-sent opportunity, that's all it takes. Right now, even as I speak these words, divine gears are turning in the unseen realm. Heavenly arrangements are being finalized. People you've never met are being positioned to cross your path. Resources you didn't know existed are being directed your way. All because your name came up in heaven's appointment book. You see, while others have seemed to prosper ahead of you, God was actually saving the best wine for last. John 2 shows us how Jesus operates. He saves the finest for the final hour. Your waiting has been your fermenting, your maturing, your deepening. Some blessings can only be carried by souls who have been tempered by time. Some anointings can only rest on those who've proven faithful through decades of obscurity. Look at me now. Can you sense it in your spirit? The atmospheric pressure is changing around your life. That heaviness you felt isn't depression. It's the weight of glory about to be revealed. Romans 8:18 declares, I consider that our present sufferings are not worth comparing with the glory that will be revealed in us. That glory is about to break forth. The divine hourglass has nearly emptied. Heaven's stopwatch is counting down. But I must warn you, when God's kairos moment strikes, you must be ready. You must be positioned. You must be expectant. How many missed their moment because they grew weary in the final hour? How many gave up hope just before the sea was about to part? Not you. Not now. Not after all you've endured. Your lifetime of prayers has created a weight in the spirit realm that is about to tip the scales. Your tears have been collected, your faithfulness recorded, your perseverance noted, and heaven is declaring, it's your turn now. The question isn't whether God will come through. The question is, will you be ready when He does? What is it you've been waiting for all these years? Healing, restoration, purpose, vindication, the fulfillment of a promise spoken decades ago? Get ready, the kairos moment approaches. When it strikes, everything changes. In an instant, in a flash, in one divine moment that will make the decades of waiting fade like a forgotten dream. You are not early, you are not late. You are next. Chosen one, the exact time has been whispered, and it's closer than you think. Listen carefully, because what I'm about to reveal isn't taught in Sunday school. It's not printed in devotionals. This is straight from the throne room of heaven, where God's divine timing is orchestrated with perfect precision. Have you noticed lately how your spirit seems unsettled? How you wake up at 3 a.m. with no explanation? How random scriptures suddenly pop into your mind throughout the day. That's not coincidence, that's coordination. That's not anxiety, it's activation. God is positioning you for what Ecclesiastes 3:11 calls the fullness of time, that divine moment when heaven's calendar aligns perfectly with your destiny. The problem is, most believers miss their moment. They stand at the edge of their Red Sea, waiting for the perfect conditions, waiting for absolute certainty, waiting for someone else's permission, and the window of divine opportunity closes. Is that you? Have you been waiting so long that you've confused delay with denial? Daniel waited 21 days for his answer, while spiritual warfare raged in the heavenlies. Joseph waited 13 years from his dream to his destiny. Moses waited 40 years in the wilderness. But make no mistake, when God's appointed time arrived, it happened suddenly. Your suddenly is approaching. You've been sensing something shifting in your spirit, haven't you? Those subtle changes in your prayer life, those unexpected dreams, those divine coincidences that can't be explained. Your spirit has been receiving heavenly downloads that your mind is still trying to process. In Habakkuk 2-3, God declares, "For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it will speak, and it will not lie. Though it tarries, wait for it, because it will surely come." Your appointed time has a date on heaven's calendar. Think about this. What if God has been deliberately holding back your breakthrough until this precise moment? What if every previous no was actually God protecting you from stepping into your purpose before the perfect time? The Almighty doesn't operate on our timetable. In 2 Peter 3-8, we're reminded that, with the Lord, one day is as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as one day. Your 70 or 80 years on earth are but a breath to the Ancient of Days. Yet He has counted every hair on your head, every tear you've shed, and every prayer you've whispered. And now, He's saying, it's time. I need you to understand something profound. Later in this message, I'll reveal the divine countdown that heaven has initiated over your life, and you cannot afford to miss it. This revelation will explain why certain doors have remained closed until now, and why they're about to swing wide open. For some of you watching, your breakthrough has been delayed because of spiritual warfare you couldn't see. For others, God has been working behind the scenes, arranging circumstances, people, and resources to align perfectly for your next chapter. Remember Queen Esther? She had no idea that her entire life was preparation for such a time as this. One divine moment changed everything, not just for her, but for an entire nation. Your moment carries the same weight. Do you realize that right now, at this exact moment, you are standing in what the Bible calls a kairos moment? It's not chronological time, it's divine appointment time. It's when heaven intersects with earth specifically for your destiny. The ancient Greeks had two words for time: chronos, which is sequential clock time, and kairos, which is the appointed time, the perfect moment when God moves decisively. Your kairos is upon you. I can sense that some of you are struggling to believe this. You've been disappointed too many times. You've gotten your hopes up only to have them dashed again. You've wondered if God has forgotten the promises He whispered to your heart decades ago. He hasn't forgotten. Not a single one. Jeremiah 1:12 declares, "I am watching over my word to perform it." Every promise God has spoken over your life has been monitored, protected, and preserved for this exact season. Nothing has been lost. Nothing has been forgotten. God doesn't waste words, and He certainly doesn't waste pain. If this resonates in your spirit, I want you to type these words right now. I hear Him. I'm ready. Your declaration is powerful. It's your agreement with heaven's timeline. It's your yes to God's divine scheduling. The Almighty doesn't need your permission to move, but He does desire your participation. When you align your faith with His timing, mountains don't just move, they crumble. You've waited long enough. You've endured enough. You've questioned enough. Now it's time to receive enough. The question is no longer, will God do it? The question is, are you positioned to receive what He's already set in motion? Because make no mistake, heaven's gears are turning, angels are being dispatched, resources are being released, people are being positioned, and it's all for the divine appointment that has your name on it. Are you ready for what happens next? Have you felt it lately? That strange stirring in your spirit, That unexplainable knowing that something is different. The air around you feels charged, like the atmosphere just before lightning strikes. Your spirit is picking up frequencies that your mind can't yet comprehend. This isn't your imagination, chosen one. This is prophecy being fulfilled. Heaven has declared a shift, and you are the epicenter. For too long, you've watched others receive their breakthrough. You've celebrated their victories while quietly wondering, when will it be my turn, Lord? You've stood faithful through seasons of silence, through prayers that seem to echo back empty. But something has changed. Can you sense it? There's a weight to the air around you now, a divine density that wasn't there before. Isaiah 43:19 declares, "Behold, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? I will make a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert." God is asking you directly, do you not perceive it? Because perception precedes manifestation. You see, most believers miss their moment because they're looking for the wrong signs. They're waiting for circumstances to change before they believe. But that's not faith, that's sight. And we walk by faith, not by sight. The shift doesn't begin in your circumstances, it begins in your spirit. That's why you're feeling what you're feeling right now. Your body knows it too. Haven't you noticed the physical signs, the sudden tears that come without warning, the goosebumps that rise on your skin when you pray, the disrupted sleep patterns, waking at 3 a.m. with an urgency to pray? Your body is responding to heavenly frequencies that are calibrating you for what's next. Your relationships are shifting too. Have you noticed how certain people have suddenly disappeared from your life? How conversations that once flowed easily now feel strained and awkward? This isn't coincidence, this is divine alignment. God is removing what cannot go, where He's taking you. But here's what you must understand, and this will change everything. You are not merely observing this shift, you are causing it. You are the trumpet in the silence. The storm doesn't precede you, you precede the storm. When Joshua and the Israelites marched around Jericho, they weren't waiting for the walls to fall so they could believe. Their very marching, their obedience, their declaration was what caused the walls to crumble. You, chosen one, are not waiting for the atmosphere to change so you can move. Your movement is changing the atmosphere. This is why the enemy has fought so hard to keep you silent, to keep you still, to keep you second guessing your calling. Because when you step fully into who God created you to be, systems of darkness must respond to your authority. The world is not waiting for another revival. The world is waiting for you to step into your divine assignment. When Queen Esther approached the king's throne uninvited, she wasn't responding to a shift. She was the shift. And who knows, Mordecai told her, whether you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this. Esther 4:14. I'm telling you now, with apostolic authority, that you have come to this moment for such a time as this. But you must recognize the season. Ecclesiastes 3:1 reminds us, to everything there is a season, and a time for every purpose under heaven. Your waiting season wasn't punishment, it was preparation. Those tears weren't wasted, they were watering seeds of purpose that are now ready to break through the soil. Can I tell you something that might shock you? God has been waiting on you. He's been waiting for you to recognize your authority, to step into your identity, to stop asking permission for what heaven has already commissioned you to do. I sense in my spirit that some of you have been sitting on prophetic words for years, words that seem too big, too impossible. You've tucked them away thinking someday or maybe or if only. But heaven is thundering now, not someday, now. The sacred shift doesn't just happen to you, it happens through you. When Jesus calmed the storm, He didn't wait for better weather. He stood in His authority and commanded peace. The disciples were looking at the waves, but Jesus was looking at His identity. Who told you that you were small? Who convinced you that your voice doesn't matter, that your prayers don't move mountains, that your worship doesn't shift atmospheres? It was never the size of your faith that mattered. It was the size of your God. The atmospheric change you're sensing isn't just another spiritual season. It's the very breath of God filling your sails, propelling you toward your divine destiny. So what will you do with this sacred moment? Will you continue to observe? Or will you begin to declare? Will you wait for circumstances to align? Or will you speak to your circumstances and command them to align with heaven's decree? The choice is yours, But understand this, heaven is waiting on your response. The angels are positioned, the resources are ready, the people you'll impact are being prepared. All of creation is groaning, waiting for the sons and daughters of God to be revealed. You are not just in the shift, you are the shift. And your time, chosen one, is right now. Have you ever felt like you're existing, but not truly living? Like you're trapped in a version of yourself that doesn't reflect who God created you to be? There are millions of Americans right now, walking around with a pulse, but spiritually flatlined. I'm talking about good, faithful people who've been attending church for 30, 40, 50 years, yet still feel dead inside. This is not what Jesus died for. Let me ask you directly, and don't look away from this truth. How many more Sundays will you sit in that pew, singing about resurrection power, while you yourself remain in the tomb? The time of spiritual compromise is over. John 10:10 tells us, "The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I have come that they may have life and have it to the full, not partially, not occasionally, not someday, full, right now." What you're about to experience isn't just another motivational moment. This isn't about feeling better for a few hours before sliding back into the same spiritual rut. This is not just a breakthrough, this is a resurrection. And I need you to understand something profound. God is not interested in improving the old you. He's declaring the death certificate over your former self. 2 Corinthians 5:17 declares, "Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, the new creation has come, the old has gone, the new is here." Listen carefully now, because heaven is revealing something extraordinary that's already begun in your spirit. Many are experiencing it but don't understand what's happening. Have you noticed unusual dreams lately? Sudden bursts of energy? Random memories from decades ago? Unexpected tears during worship? These aren't coincidences. These are birth pangs. The old you is dying, and the authentic you, the one God designed before the foundation of the world, is pushing to emerge. I've heard testimonies from people across America experiencing the same supernatural phenomenon. They describe a sensation like cool, blue healing fluid flowing through their entire being, washing away decades of spiritual calcification. Some have reported feeling it start at the crown of their head, flowing down through their body, cleansing every cell, renewing tissues, rejuvenating organs, restoring what the enemy has stolen. One 78-year-old grandmother in Ohio wrote to me, "It felt like liquid light was flowing through places in my soul that had been dark for 40 years. Suddenly, I could feel again. I could hope again. I could believe again." This divine blue fluid represents the river of life spoken of in Revelation 22:1. "Then the angel showed me the river of the water of life, as clear as crystal, flowing from the throne of God." God is performing spiritual surgery on you right now, cutting away the dead tissue of disappointment, bitterness, and resignation. He's transfusing fresh anointing directly into your spiritual DNA. For too long, the enemy has kept you in a spiritual coma. You've been breathing, but not living. Existing, but not thriving. Surviving, but not reigning. No more. Ezekiel prophesied this very moment in chapter 37. "I will put breath in you, and you will come to life. Then you will know that I am the Lord." This is your Lazarus moment, when Jesus stands outside the tomb of your compromised life and shouts, "Come out!" The grave clothes that have restricted you, the bandages of fear, doubt, past mistakes, and human limitations are falling away. The stench of death is being replaced by the fragrance of resurrection. You're about to walk out of the tomb you were never meant to die in. Can you feel it? That stirring deep within? That's not emotion. That's resurrection power activating in your spirit right now. Remember what Jesus told Martha in John 11:40. "Did I not tell you that if you believe, you will see the glory of God?" What you thought was the end was merely the cocoon. The caterpillar of your old life is dissolving, and the butterfly of your divine purpose is emerging. The question is no longer whether God can resurrect your dreams, your health, your purpose. The question is, will you let go of the old you to embrace who He's raising up? Some of you have been spiritually dead for so long that resurrection feels frightening. You've grown accustomed to the grave, familiar with limitations, comfortable with less than God's best. But I prophesy to you today, the stone is already rolling away, the grave clothes are already loosening, the breath of God is already filling your lungs. This resurrection isn't just about you. There are people who will never encounter Jesus unless the authentic you rises from the dead. Your children, grandchildren, neighbors, and community need the anointed version of you that Satan has been desperately trying to keep buried. If you're ready to rise, type, "I'm resurrecting," in the comments right now. This isn't just words on a screen. It's your spiritual declaration that you're choosing life over death, purpose over complacency, power over weakness. The blue healing fluid of heaven is already flowing. The divine rebirth has already begun. Your spirit is already sensing it. Will you remain in the tomb? Or will you walk out into the blinding light of resurrection? Your tomb was always meant to be temporary, but your resurrection is eternal. Listen carefully, chosen one. I'm about to tell you something that might shock you, but your breakthrough isn't being blocked by Satan. It's being blocked by something else entirely. Your prayers have been heard, your tears have been collected, your faithfulness has been recorded in heaven's ledger. But there comes a moment when prayers alone are not enough. Faith without works is dead. Let that sink into your spirit for a moment. For 40 years, the Israelites wandered in circles, praying for the promised land. But do you know what finally brought down the walls of Jericho? It wasn't more prayer, it was obedience in action. God is waiting for you to move, chosen one. Many believers have been stuck in an endless cycle of someday, waiting for God to do everything while they do nothing. But that's not how divine partnership works. Hebrews 11, the great hall of faith, doesn't just celebrate those who believed, but those who acted on their belief. Noah didn't just pray about the flood. He built an ark when there wasn't a cloud in the sky. Abraham didn't just believe God's promise. He packed his belongings and left everything familiar behind. Moses didn't just hope for deliverance. He stretched out his rod over the Red Sea. And Queen Esther? She didn't just fast and pray. She approached the king, uninvited, risking her very life with the words, "If I perish, I perish." Their breakthrough required their participation, and so does yours. I can feel someone watching right now saying, "But I've been waiting on the Lord." And yes, Isaiah 40:31 tells us that those who wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. But the Hebrew word for wait, kavah, doesn't mean passive waiting. It means to actively expect, like a waiter in a restaurant who isn't sitting down, but actively serving while anticipating the customer's needs. Your waiting season was never meant to be passive. It was meant to be preparation. The door to your miracle isn't locked, chosen one. It's simply waiting for your hand to push it open. When God told Joshua that he had given them Jericho, did the walls instantly fall? Number? Joshua had to organize the people, march around the city for 7 days, and blow the trumpets. God's promise required Joshua's participation. I'm looking at someone right now who's been praying for financial breakthrough for years. God has heard you, but have you created a budget? Have you sown seeds? Have you applied for that position? Have you started that business God placed in your heart? I see someone who's been praying for healing. The power is available, but have you changed your diet? Are you taking your medication? Have you forgiven the person who wounded you years ago? There's someone praying for a restored marriage. But when was the last time you spoke words of affirmation to your spouse? When did you last serve them without expecting anything in return? Faith that doesn't produce action isn't really faith at all. James 2:17 makes it crystal clear. Faith by itself, if it does not have works, is dead. Your breakthrough is on the other side of your obedience. Right now, I want you to take out a piece of paper. Yes, right now. Not after this video. Not tomorrow. Right now. Write today's date at the top of the page. This is your Ebenezer stone, your marker, your divine timestamp. Now, beneath the date, I want you to write, "Today, I move from prayer into action." Look at that statement. Say it aloud. Today, I move from prayer into action. This isn't just a declaration, it's a covenant between you and God. Next, write down one specific action you know God has been nudging you to take. Maybe it's making that phone call you've been avoiding. Perhaps it's forgiving someone who doesn't deserve forgiveness. Maybe it's stepping out to serve in a ministry, or finally writing that book that's been burning in your heart for decades. Whatever it is, write it down. Now, Here's the crucial part. Put a deadline next to it. Not someday, not when I feel ready. Give it a specific date. This transforms it from a wish into a commitment. God is revealing to you that your time is now, but his revelation requires your participation. Remember Queen Esther? When Mordecai told her about the plot to destroy her people, he reminded her, "And who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this?" Her response changed the course of history. "I will go to the king, even though it is against the law, and if I perish, I perish." That's the kind of courageous obedience that releases miracles. When Jesus told the man with the withered hand to stretch it out, the man had a choice. He could have said, "Lord, it doesn't work. That's why I'm here." But instead, he acted on Jesus' word. And in that act of obedience, his healing was manifested. You've been faithful in your prayers, chosen one. You've been faithful in your worship. Now, God is calling you to be faithful in your actions. The combination of divine timing and human obedience creates unstoppable momentum. Your blessing isn't just coming, it's waiting for you to take that step of faith that moves you from spectator to participant in your own miracle. Today, destiny is demanding your obedience, and your next step will determine everything. Have you ever walked into a room and instantly felt something was wrong? Have you found yourself knowing things about people that they never told you? Do you sometimes see events unfold in your mind before they happen in real life? This isn't coincidence, and it certainly isn't paranoia. It's prophecy. It's divine discernment. And it's been activated in you for such a time as this. For decades, you felt different, set apart, like you were viewing the world through a different lens than everyone else. People called you too sensitive or overly cautious. They dismissed your concerns, your warnings, your feelings. But God never dismissed them. What others labeled as anxiety, the Lord knew was anointing. What they called overthinking, heaven recognized as oversight. What they dismissed as being dramatic, God designed as discernment. In 1 Corinthians 12:10, Paul speaks of the ability to distinguish between spirits as a specific spiritual gift. You weren't born this way by accident. You were crafted this way by divine intention. Think about it. How many times have you met someone who everyone else adored, yet something in your spirit whispered, "Caution," and how many times were you later proven right? How often have you sensed something was about to happen, only to watch it unfold exactly as you perceived? That's not coincidence. That's consecration. You see, God has tuned your spiritual frequency higher than those around you. That's why the noise of this world bothers you more. That's why you can't simply let things go when others seem to move on so easily. You're picking up signals they can't even detect. Daniel 5:14 says, "I have heard that the spirit of the holy gods is in you, and that light and understanding and excellent wisdom are found in you." That's who you are, chosen one. A carrier of divine insight in a world blinded by deception. Remember Joseph in Genesis? His brothers hated him because he saw things they couldn't see. They called him a dreamer, like it was an insult. Yet those very dreams saved nations. Your strange feelings about situations, your inexplicable knowledge, your ability to see through facades, these aren't burdens to apologize for. They're weapons God has placed in your hands. And right now, in this exact season, your discernment is being supernaturally heightened. Why? Because what's coming next in your life requires precise spiritual navigation. The promotion God has for you, the purpose He's revealing, the provision He's releasing, it all demands accurate discernment. The enemy knows this. That's why he's worked overtime to make you doubt your gift. He sent people to label you as judgmental when you expressed concern. He's isolated you when you spoke truth others weren't ready to hear. He's made you question yourself, apologize for your insights, and shrink back from what God placed within you. No more. As of this moment, I prophesy a divine activation of your spiritual discernment like never before. What was once a flicker will become a flame. What was intuition becomes revelation. Hebrews 5:14 declares that mature believers have their senses trained to discern good and evil. Your lifelong training is now bearing fruit. Can you feel it even now? That heightened awareness, that spiritual alertness? That's the Holy Spirit amplifying what He placed within you from birth. In the coming days, you'll begin to see people's true motives with stunning clarity. You'll understand situations without needing all the facts. You'll navigate complex decisions with heaven's guidance because your spiritual GPS has been divinely upgraded. Don't be surprised when you suddenly know things you shouldn't naturally know. When answers come to you for problems you've never encountered. When solutions arise in your spirit for situations you haven't even faced yet. This isn't random. This is the gift of discernment being activated for the next chapter of your divine assignment. But here's what you must understand, and it's crucial. This gift isn't for your benefit alone. Samuel didn't receive prophetic insight just for himself. Deborah didn't judge Israel for her own glory. Your discernment is a stewardship. Some around you are walking blindly toward destruction. Others are missing heaven-sent opportunities because they can't recognize them. Many are being deceived by counterfeits, in relationships, in spiritual matters, in life decisions. God has positioned you as a watchman on the wall, as a lighthouse in the storm. This gift will disturb your comfort. It will interrupt your sleep. It will compel you to speak when you'd rather stay silent. That's the weight of true discernment. But when you embrace it fully, when you stop apologizing for seeing what others can't see, when you trust what God reveals rather than what appears on the surface, that's when lives will be changed through you. Your difference isn't a defect, it's divine design. Your sensitivity isn't a weakness, it's a weapon. Your ability to see beyond isn't paranoia, it's prophecy. So I ask you, will you step fully into this gift? Will you trust what God reveals, even when it contradicts what everyone else believes? Will you speak truth when truth needs speaking? Will you stand firm when your discernment puts you at odds with the majority? Because make no mistake, the time for hiding this gift has ended. The activation is now, and what happens next depends entirely on your willingness to see with heaven's eyes and speak with heaven's voice. Are you ready to become who you were created to be? I must tell you something difficult, but necessary. Something that has weighed on my spirit for weeks. As God pressed me to deliver this warning with both urgency and love, if you scroll past this moment, don't blame God later. Heaven's invitation doesn't remain open indefinitely. Remember Jonah? God called him to Nineveh, but he ran in the opposite direction. He thought he could outrun a divine appointment. And what happened? A violent storm. 3 days in the belly of a fish, and nearly losing his life before he finally surrendered to what God had ordained from the beginning. The assignment still had to be fulfilled, but Jonah's detour caused him untold suffering. Many of you are at your own divine crossroads right now, standing exactly where Jonah stood. You feel the pull, you sense the call, but something is holding you back. Fear, doubt, the comfort of familiar struggle. This isn't just another inspirational message. This is heaven's lifeboat being lowered into the troubled waters of your life. And it won't wait forever. Think about Martha in Luke 10:41-42. Jesus himself sat in her living room, the creator of the universe. Yet she was distracted with much serving. Jesus told her, "Martha, Martha, you are anxious and troubled about many things, but one thing is necessary." She missed the divine moment, standing just feet away from her miracle, because she was too busy, too distracted, too comfortable with her familiar routines. How many divine appointments have you already missed? How many heavenly doors closed because you were too busy? How many miracles passed you by while you were scrolling through someone else's testimony? Hebrews 3:15 warns us plainly, "Today, if you hear his voice, do not harden your hearts." Not tomorrow, not when you're more prepared, not when you've got your life together, today. I've counseled too many elderly saints who weep with regret, telling me, "I knew God was calling me decades ago, but I was waiting for the perfect time. Now I'm 80 years old, and I've wasted the assignment heaven gave me." Their tears keep me up at night. Don't let that be your testimony. Let me ask you something that may shake you to your core. What if this is your final divine appointment? What if God, in His mercy, is reaching out one last time before your window of supernatural opportunity closes forever? In 2 Corinthians 6:2, Paul writes, "Behold, now is the favorable time. Behold, now is the day of salvation." God's timing isn't random. It's precisely calculated for maximum impact in your life and the lives of everyone you're destined to influence. The Israelites wandered 40 years in the wilderness because they missed their moment to enter the promised land. An 11-day journey turned into a 40-year nightmare because they hesitated when God said, "Go." That generation died without seeing their promise fulfilled. King Saul lost his entire kingdom because he moved ahead of God's timing by just a few hours. A few hours of impatience cost him everything. Esther, however, recognized her divine appointment when Mordecai told her, "Who knows whether you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this?" Her response? Immediate action, even at the risk of her own life. The entire Jewish nation was saved because one woman recognized heaven's timing and moved when God said move. I'm telling you with absolute certainty, as someone who has walked with the Lord for over 5 decades, this is your Esther moment. This is your divine window of opportunity. If you sense that nudge in your spirit right now, that internal knowing that God is speaking directly to your situation, I need you to respond in faith right now. Type, "Yes, Lord," in the comments below. This isn't just interaction. It's a prophetic declaration that you won't be like Jonah. You won't be like Martha. You won't be like the Israelites who died in the wilderness. Your simple act of typing those words is breaking the spirit of delay and procrastination over your life. It's your digital altar, your memorial stone, your line in the sand that says, "I will not miss my moment." What happens if you ignore this divine appointment? The assignment God has for you will still be fulfilled, but He'll find someone else to carry what was meant for you. The blessings reserved for your obedience will be transferred to another. The crown God crafted specifically for you will rest on another's head. And one day, perhaps years from now, you'll look back with the bitter taste of regret, wondering why your breakthrough never came, why your miracle never manifested, why your purpose seemed just out of reach. But it won't be because God didn't try. It won't be because heaven didn't reach out. It will be because you scrolled past your divine appointment, thinking it would always be there tomorrow. Tomorrow is promised to no one. Today, if you hear His voice, do not harden your heart. For 40 years, the Israelites wandered in circles around the same wilderness. 40 years of the same problems, the same complaints, the same limitations. 40 years of watching their dreams die in the sand. And then God spoke to Joshua, "You've circled this mountain long enough. It's time to possess what I promised." Chosen one, I look at your life today, and I see the same pattern. You've been circling the same mountain of debt, the same mountain of illness, the same mountain of broken relationships, the same mountain of unfulfilled purpose. How many more circles do you need? How many more years will you wander when the promised land is just a decision away? I sense in my spirit that God is declaring over you right now, the final countdown has begun. 7 days, just 7 days. In Joshua chapter 6, God didn't just give Joshua a promise. He gave him a precise timeline and a divine strategy. March around Jericho once daily for 6 days. Then on the 7th day, circle it 7 times and shout. Those walls that had stood impossible for generations crumbled in just 7 days of obedience. Let me ask you something that might shake you to your core. What if you're only 7 days away from your breakthrough? What if the impossible wall you've been staring at for years is exactly 7 days from collapsing at your feet? Your Jericho might be a medical report that says terminal. It might be a bank account that screams impossible. It might be a marriage certificate with the word irretrievable stamped across it. But God is saying, start your countdown. The 7th day is coming. Look at your calendar right now. Mark today's date and count forward 7 days. Circle that date in red. Something is shifting in the heavenlies over your life, and the countdown has already started. I want you to comment the exact date you're watching this message. That's not just a comment, that's your prophetic timestamp. That's you driving a stake in the ground, declaring, "On this day, I began my final approach to my miracle." Do you understand the spiritual power of 7? In Genesis, God created everything in 6 days, but set apart the 7th for completion and rest. In Revelation, 7 seals, 7 trumpets, 7 bowls mark the completion of God's plan. 7 isn't just a number, it's God's signature of completion. When Peter asked Jesus how many times he should forgive, Jesus answered, 70 times 7. Not as a mathematical formula, but as a declaration that divine forgiveness is complete and perfect. Each day of your 7-day countdown represents a layer of chains being broken off your life. Day 1, the chain of fear begins to crack. Day 2, the shackle of doubt starts to loosen. Day 3, the bondage of past failure begins to rust away. Day 4, the grip of financial lack starts to weaken. Day 5, the stranglehold of sickness begins to release. Day 6, the prison of delayed purpose starts to crumble. And on day 7, complete breakthrough. But here's what you need to understand. Joshua and the Israelites didn't just walk around Jericho in silence. The priests carried the Ark of the Covenant, the very presence of God, with them on every circle. Are you carrying God's presence with you as you circle your problem? Or are you circling in your own strength, with your own complaints, and your own limited perspective? The difference between a meaningless circle and a miracle-producing circle is the presence of God in your journey. Some of you have been circling without purpose, without faith, without expectation. You've been going through religious motions, but there's been no ark of His presence in your daily walk. Today, that changes. And on that 7th day, when they had circled 7 times, Joshua commanded the people, "Shout, for the Lord has given you the city." Your shout may be what collapses your wall. Not a timid whisper of, "Maybe God will," not a desperate plea of, "God, if you're willing," but a faith-filled declaration that God has already given me victory. I prophesy to someone watching right now. You're on day 5. You've been faithful. You've been circling. You've been carrying His presence. Don't you dare give up now. Day 7 is just around the corner. For someone else, today is your day 1. The countdown begins now. Don't miss it because it seems too simple, too practical, too straightforward. The greatest miracles often come through the simplest acts of obedience. I sense in my spirit that for many of you, these next 7 days will be the most pivotal week of your entire life. Before we continue this divine revelation, I want to thank every precious soul who has supported this ministry through Super Thanks. Your seed isn't just supporting a message, it's advancing the kingdom of God. Whether you sow financially or simply share this word with someone who's been circling their mountain too long, you're part of this divine countdown. Remember, Jericho didn't fall on day 1. Keep circling, keep believing, keep carrying His presence. Your 7th day is coming, and when it does, no wall of impossibility will be able to stand against the promise of God in your life. My dear friend, as we come to the close of this sacred time together, I want you to hold fast to what heaven has revealed today. You are not circling that mountain by accident. You are in divine positioning. These next 7 days mark the beginning of your breakthrough season, your Jericho moment, your divine appointment with destiny. Remember these 3 truths that cannot be shaken. First, God's timing is never late. What looks like delay to human eyes is divine preparation in heaven's calendar. Every "not yet" has been leading to this moment of "now is the time." Second, your struggles haven't disqualified you, they've prepared you. Every tear, every disappointment, every closed door was building spiritual muscle for the very breakthrough you're about to walk into. Third, this 7-day countdown isn't just symbolist, it's prophetic. Mark it on your calendar, expect it, watch for it. Document what God does each day, because your testimony is about to become someone else's hope. If this word has stirred your spirit, please share it with someone else who's been circling their mountain far too long. Your simple act of sharing could be the very lifeline someone needs today. I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. What mountain are you circling? What's your day 7 date? What breakthrough are you expecting? Your testimony might become someone else's turning point. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel. Join our community of believers who refuse to settle for wilderness wandering when the promised land is within reach. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next divine appointment God has for you through this ministry. Remember, the God who brought down Jericho's walls is the same God watching over your life today. The countdown has begun. Your breakthrough is not just coming, it's already here. Until next time, may you walk in the confidence of being God's chosen one, right on time, right where you belong.